So, as people come on up, I'll start with some introductions. Tracy Whitmore is a social worker and has worked with the GASP team for about 6 years. Started off co-facilitating the GASP group while working in child and family services, and began full-time with GASP about 2.5 years ago in March 2011, and provides support, provides individual support and counselling for LGBTI, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex young people and their families, and co-facilitating the GASP group and also supporting the beginning of PFLAG Geelong. And next is Reid. Nate is a 24-year-old trans man, and it's the interesting solo co-president title of Victoria's Switchboard counselling service. Works as a junior doctor out of Western Health Footscray. Commences general practice training next year. Hopes to work specifically in youth sexual health in the future. And is a massive gaming and comic book nerd. Tony Briffa is someone who is born intersex, part male and part female. He was raised as a girl named Antoinette and married her first boyfriend. She divorced him and came out as a lesbian. Then he started testosterone and began living as a man named Anthony. He's explored his sexuality and explains he personifies every letter in GLBTIQ. Yay for diversity and intersectionality. In recent years, Tony has become more comfortable and understanding of what being born intersex means to him, and he openly identifies in a gender that is congruent with his biological sex. He is male and female. And to formally introduce Hart, who we met earlier, the current president of the Androgen Insensitivity Social and Support Group in Australia, which provides peer-based support to intersex people of all variations and their families. Also the group engages in medical liaison and social advocacy to ensure intersex people are properly represented and protected. Bonnie is also an interdisciplinary artist and arts worker and one of the creative forces behind the autobiographical documentary Orchids, My Intersex Adventure. So, welcome to our panel. And is back.
I went to get a drink and I wasn't sure if I was meant to be here or not, so I wanted to sit down. Is the idea that we're going to come up later?
Yeah. Okay. After the panel's had a few words, we'll get yourself.
Sorry, I was going to come and sit.
That's all right. It's a packed program, as they say. Let's start here.
Oh yeah, and Reid. Sorry, Reid and Jason probably.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you've got to swish you in.
Down.
Come on down. Gosh, it is a packed program.
It is a packed program.
Jason DeSardes, aka Foxy, is in I'll say their dirty 30s. A playwright, actor, performance artist where training gender diversity is integral to that, and identifies as Jason and sister girl. And Reid is a supermarket trainee from Alice Springs, sister girl, and also from the Tiwi Islands. And I'd like to acknowledge in terms of the Tiwi Islands, previously someone who's done great work, and that's Crystal Johnson, who's been to Melbourne on many occasions and done some stuff there. So, six contestants. No, it's so I'll leave you to just tell your stories. I know, Tony, you've got a clip in there as well. All right, so over to everyone there, and we'll throw the microphone in.
Hi, thanks Ali. So I've worked with GASP for about 6 years, and the last couple of years have been a huge learning curve for me and the young people that I've worked with, particularly the trans young people. I guess I'm here on the panel to share with you my experience working with those young people. So I'm not going to give any individual stories because Geelong's a small place, but there are lots of common themes, I guess, that come up in room 6 at the old post office when I'm talking the barriers, I guess, around access to the health pathways, which is why we're here today. The difficulties for those young people to get to Melbourne to access any information or support is really difficult. So you've got the financial burden, the time constraints, the anxiety about actually going to that unknown place of the health pathways in Melbourne. And also, I guess that they don't get to support people often because, well, workers, we do go to Melbourne sometimes, but it's a lot of time to go up to those appointments to support those young people. And families are either unable or unwilling to be able to support access to those appointments as well. And I guess I feel like it really restricts their ability to be able to explore kind of what Ash was saying and some other people have said, to explore what they want their journey to be. There's this huge focus on the medical stuff and I have to get to Melbourne but I can't, and I have to go through this process but I'm not sure. And I find it really difficult to support them through that journey to work out what it is they want to do, and everybody's experience is individual, it's their experience, and yeah, there's a lot of barriers for them to be able to explore what it is they want to do because we don't have here in Geelong people that we're aware of at least that are able to inform young people and support them to kind of work out what the processes are. They often say to me, oh, but I've got to tell them this so that they believe me. And so that really hinders that conversation that they can have so that they can learn what's going to suit them and what journey they want to end up going on. So, yeah, that's me.
I have to follow that. So I suppose, yeah, I know the question is which hat do I put on? I was looking at the registration and I quite liked it because I still technically count as a young person. I count as a community organisation and as a health professional, so I was like, this is awesome. But that doesn't actually mean that I know anything, it just means that I'm admitted or something. So I suppose I do slightly offer a unique perspective as a trans man, so as a consumer as well as a health provider. So I normally like to apologise to everybody in the room, or all of the medical providers. On behalf, I think something that might be encouraging is that all of my friends, so we're going to have some amazing surgeons and orthopaedic surgeons and dermatologists and stuff in the future that are all about the transness. I'm not sure about the intersex, hopefully that can also try and get that on board as well. I don't claim to have any answers. I don't know. I'm happy to just answer any questions, really. Yeah, that would be it.
Hello. I thought it'd be, I'll just cheat and put on an animation that's a couple of minutes long that describes my experience. I talk about it, but it's just be put up on the screen. And I'm very happy to have questions later on and talk a little bit about intersex and some of the issues that we face on pathways. My earliest memories are of being in hospital. Most of the other kids were really sick, even terminally ill. Ironically, there was nothing wrong with me. I was healthy and I wasn't going to be terribly sick or die. I just grew up with things like medical examinations, surgeries, lots of observations. Often I would see my mother crying before medical appointments. I knew when I was 5 that I couldn't have kids because I overheard Mum and Dad. I remember Mum being very upset with it, so I pretended I didn't know anything. I was raised Catholic and went to an all-girls school with my twin sister. At school I remember at things like camps and swimming classes that I'd have to hide who I was. I wouldn't get changed in front of the other girls. As long as I remember, there was always this sense that there were boys, there were girls, And then there was me. I ended up meeting a guy when I was 18. I decided to tell him everything. I even gave him all of my medical records. Can you believe that? It was like some sort of due diligence. I told him, if you want to go out with me, this is what you're getting. If you're still interested, get back to me in a week. And he did. I remember coming out as a lesbian when I was 26. I did the female straight person and that didn't work. Then I did the female lesbian person and that didn't exactly work. I took hormones, I tried to be male, gay, Tony, but no, none of it was really me. I came out as intersex on 60 Minutes to everyone all at once, which was pretty full on. Surprise, I'm intersex. But it was so well received. That helped so much, finally being open and honest. I've always been interested in politics because that's where you can make the most difference, to be the change you want to be in the world. As a teenager, all the girls at school had pictures of Duran Duran.
You have to restart the whole thing. She occasionally does this. You have to reload and where you want it to start. Check the minutes where it's up here.
To be honest, I hate watching myself on television. I think I've only seen it once or twice.
It's very good.
The artist Kent Billy did a great job. Do you want me to just go down?
The wave's going down.
Okay, we'll go down. I like going down. Anyway, versatile, anyway. Versatile, talk about fluid, it's all fluid. Fluid, maybe that should be the catchphrase of that. It's all good. Yeah, so I'm an intersex person, born, intersex, male and female, raised as a girl, and Antoinette, had a wonderful upbringing, wonderful family, great friends that I went to school with. I was born in Altona, raised in Altona, went to the local girls' Catholic school and all that sort of stuff. We had a reunion this weekend, and it's just lovely. And I've struggled. I've struggled with what the hell am I? My boy, my girl, my lesbian, my gay, my straight. And what does all that mean? I'm a person. And pretty, I hope, reasonably well adjusted one. My journey has been kind of interesting with all of that, and it's been very public. So that, when I said I went on 60 Minutes, that was 13 years ago that I went on 60 Minutes outing myself as intersex. And that was quite interesting in itself. I was working for ANZSET Australia back then, and for those of you who remember that, I remember getting the letter to my boss, and ANZSET at the time was the airline of the Olympics, the Sydney 2000 Olympics, and gave the letter to my boss, which said, they want to come and do some filming of Antoinette Briffa and Antoinette's remarkable life with AIS. And my boss thought that they meant the Australian Institute of Sport. Had to sit him down and explain to him, well, actually, no, AIS is. Anyway, I explained to him what AIS was, and he was just sitting there pretty quiet, and the first thing he said was, are you really sure you want to do that? But it's just easier to be out about it anyway. As it turns out, I am very involved in politics, and last year I was the mayor of the city of Hobson's Bay. This side of Melbourne, and it was great. To be the elected councillor and become mayor of the area where I grew up as Antoinette, where everybody knows about the whole story and being queer and all that stuff. It was all pretty pretty cool, very accepted. And I must admit, I was shitting myself last year at the re-election. So, council elections last year, I'm thinking, okay, how's this all going to go? Because I was pretty out there being a queer man. I marched the Pride March with the, Meryl robes and the chains and all that sort of stuff. And, just really celebrating being queer and celebrating the whole GLBTIQ community. And I'm very pleased to say that despite the fact that I thought I wasn't going to get re-elected, and I packed everything up before the election because I didn't want to lose and didn't pack up. I got the highest vote out of any councillor in Hobson's Bay, the whole western suburbs and northern suburbs, and it was just amazing. I really love my community, and I'm very grateful for the chance and the opportunities that have been made. Listen, watching that video before was a bit difficult, I must admit, from my own personal perspective. Seeing that woman talk about how hard it was for her to make those decisions for herself about transitioning, her excitement about starting E. When I look at that, I can't help but think about the things that I went through as an intersex person. I'm going to try not to get emotional here, but to think about that I was castrated as a child. No decision. I wasn't involved in that. I'll be honest, I was 7 years old, I was in the hospital, they told me that I was going to the hospital to have tissues removed, and I thought they meant Kleenex. I thought, how did the Kleenex get here? I couldn't work it out. That's what I thought, because I was a 7-year-old kid. I wasn't involved in the decision-making process whatsoever. And when you see her getting excited about starting the estrogen, I remember that. I remember I was 11. No one consulted me, I wasn't excited, I didn't particularly want breasts or anything like that. God, I thought they were going to make me menstruate as well, which would have been just really shit. And if they, if they could have, they probably would have. So I look at all that, and for us, it is about consent, waiting. There is no need to do surgeries on a kid. Atypical genitalia is not a medical issue. It is not a medical necessary. It's not medically necessary that you have to go and change them. A child can just wait till they grow up and then make a decision for themselves. You look at the DSM and stuff, and frankly, in some respects, I'm almost envious. In some respects, the trans rights that they have in that, there's no prevention, there's no second set of eyes, there's no consent process or anything for us. We as intersex people are treated like shit, like animals, like whatever, and they just do whatever the hell they like to us. They don't consent. We're not valued. We're looked at as damaged goods, and that's something that we're still fighting in this day and age. And I probably should have mentioned that I'm the Vice President of OAI and AIS support group. And I should also have mentioned, as the Council of Hobson's Bay, I'd like to commend the City of Geelong for holding this conference here and all the wonderful work that they're doing. So if you could convey that to the Mayor and Councillors, I'd appreciate it. Sorry? Actually, I'm very happy to do that on my official letterhead. And in fact, I just did it also on the Joy. I was interviewed by Joy about an hour ago, so I will do that. Things like the need for research. There is no research for the way they treat us. Doctors, I love some doctors. But they talk about evidence-based medicine. Where is the bloody evidence-based medicine when it comes to intersex people? There isn't. It just doesn't happen. I know a number of people with AIS, for example, that got away from the surgeon, and didn't have their testes removed, and they were, not going to mention names, but like one person that's spoken that I'm not sure you know who I'm talking about, she was in her 70s when she had her testes removed. Another person that we know was in her late 30s when she had her testes removed. They didn't have cancer. But we don't know of anyone that's actually had cancer because most of the time people with AIS in particular and other sex conditions have their testes removed at such a young age. Firmly believe in the need for a moratorium on surgeries on intersex children, at least until they can prove that they are required. legally, and this is a bit of a contentious issue, but I also believe that as an intersex adult, if we want to have birth certificates reflect our sex as being male and female, then we should be able to. Now that, I'll just be clear, that's not a policy position of any particular organisation, that's my personal view. But as an intersex person, for example, me, the other week I got married in New Zealand, and I got married as an indeterminate person, it was fine, but I didn't have to be a male or a female, that was all good. Like, the world isn't going to come to an end if someone's birth certificate says that they're exactly what they biologically are, like in my case. Why do you put the end of the F there? That's being refused at the moment. I've got a blank birth certificate, which has given me more grief than it's worth, I think, because then people can just take you whatever the hell they like because you don't have anything on there. So I would never actually have the X on a passport. I've got 2 passports, luckily enough, a European one, Australian one. One's an M, one's an F, and I have that for good reason because God, you never know how someone's going to take you, and I got done through the customs last year at Sydney Airport, going through customs, and they asked me a question, a horrible question that I just don't want to get, and that was, excuse me, are you a man or a woman? And I just looked at the guy and I'm like, fuck, if you could tell me, we'd both be pretty happy. Don't ask me questions like that, fuck if I know. Anyway, but it's customs, so I just looked at him and later I was thinking, God, what do I say? So I looked around, he wasn't that cute. The woman kind of was, I don't female. So anyway, I was searched, and my backpack wasn't searched. I was. It was all about, it was all about what am I, and if he was cute. Anyway, sorry, I'm glad my office is here. All right, so that's about all of my story. I'll just move on. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bonnie, and support group. I said some stuff before.
Hello everybody, my name is Jason DeSantis. Also some of you in the audience here also know me as my evil twin sister, Foxy Empire. First off I want to acknowledge the Wathaurong people and the surrounding Kulin nations, the original custodians of this land. I also like to acknowledge if there was any transgenderism that did happen pre-colonialism. I'd like to acknowledge that definitely could have happened, especially in Aboriginal culture. Island culture, Australia's a big island. And I'd also like to mostly pay my respects to all the women of those nations who are such an integral part to Tiwi culture and our creation stories. So I am just turned 30, and that was very exciting, because it rhymes with dirty, and flirty. I just turned 30, and I identify as a gay man, sister girl. I don't really even like using the word gay, because I prefer the sister girl tag, because it's more of a decolonised approach towards sexuality and genderism, but of course sister girl is more about gender as opposed to the sexuality side of things, and also it's got deeply rooted cultural attachments to that as well. I've struggled with my gender since I was quite young. I grew up as, a good little Catholic boy. I was an altar boy, and that has nothing to do with my gender or sexuality. We have something in common though, I'll get to that. So for many years I first thought I was, did that again, and I'm bisexual. Next minute, leg open. Sorry if I do use a lot of full slang when I talk, it's just naturally how I talk. I shouldn't apologise for it anyway. I came out as gay, then then I discovered Foxy. Foxy was always kind of like inside of me. I just didn't have a name for her, or for what she was. I started doing drag at a club in Darwin in 2004. I just moved back from Sydney, where I trained in performing arts, and I moved back to Darwin, and then I started doing drag, and then it just went further into that. I contemplated transitioning, but after really sitting down and talking to people and really thinking about what I wanted in life, I always knew that I didn't have to have the hormones to feel a woman. And also, there's a little bit of a thing with I have towards Western medicine. I just personally don't think that black fellas' bodies can handle too much synthetic drugs. A lot of myself and other sister girls from Tiwi Islands agree with that. I think there's a fear, and I don't think I think there's a fear to a level of not being educated properly on hormone replacement. But also, the thing of like, our bodies, we're the thing of like, there's so many chronic disease, so much chronic disease, especially where I'm from Tiwi Islands. We have really, obviously like most places, diabetes, mellitus type 2, and also renal. And a lot of those things can often, your chances of chronic disease can go up higher if you are taking hormones as well. It's a fear, and I think a choice thing with the sister girls up at home on the Tiwi Islands. So just letting you know, I'm actually from Milakapiti, which is the bigger island of the two, and I come just the community on top of Melbourne there, facing Timor. We wave to each other. But of course, John Howard put us in the exclusion zone all those years ago. With the hormone thing, and like from talking to other sisters, we're not very big on hormone. I think a lot of you may have seen Crystal talking about the sex change and whatnot, but also with the gender reassignment surgery, there's also a lot of fear around that, because a lot of sister girls are already being diagnosed with high blood pressure and early stages of diabetes, and colonisation working its best. So we kind of choose. I think that through our culture we're able to best express our gender and our sexuality and and how we identify within our community. The sister girls make up 5% of the Tiwi Islands population. The community I live in, there's like, when I was growing up, there's only like 3 of us who identified as sister girls. And then over on Bathurst Island, there's like 1,500. No, on Bathurst Island, the smaller of the island, funnily enough, there's about 40 plus sister girls that are kind of like, in and out of the Tiwi Islands. Also like the thing that helped me kind of like discover my where I wanted to go with in regards to my sexuality, my gender, and how I identify was my art. So I'm a playwright and an actor, performer in the flesh. What did somebody call me once? A gender illusionist. Whatever that's meant to mean. But one of my favourite quotes is Oscar Wilde's, "Illusion is the first of all pleasures." And through my art, I discovered that I really loved being Jason, because I think Foxy is like a model, so I would not want to do that full time. And so I like that Jason offers the relaxed side of things, but definitely like my female side is born from the strong women in my family. I come from a really strong line of women. My mum's the mayor of Tiwi Islands. She's been voted in 3 times now, and every single time the men have tried to get rid of her. But she Yeah, she rules with an iron fist, that one. That's her name. And she's been very instrumental in change in the Tiwi Islands as well. Crystal Johnson, who you may all Crystal love, was also voted in as a councillor of the ward there. And true typical, like, you know, I don't want to say it, but like, you know, true our typical cultural ways, Tiwi cultural ways, the men were like, oh, we're not having no sister girl on the council. And my mum was like, oh well, too effing bad. So because me and Crystal, we come from one tribe, one bloodline, one grandmother, one original grandfather, you know, many millennia ago. And so my mother stands up for her. We're one tribe, so yeah, we're the rock tribe as well. That's our totem. So yeah, we always say we're sweet as chocolate but solid as rock. Yeah, also, yeah, just like, this is something here I just want to show, like, kind of Foxy and like I do performance and all that, but also I use her as an advocate and as a role model for younger sister girls. Because also, like, also with gender, especially back home, like, it can be very rigid in the way that some of the older ones interpret gender and sexuality. So I'm like kind of part of this, like, you know, the XY mob who have a different attitude towards things, and there's like now since the Sister Girl documentary, which you may have seen with Mindy Cole in it, that documentary has opened up a plethora of like kind of, you know, kind of group territory. Yeah.
So only 15 seconds.
So yeah, sure, yeah, 15 seconds. And yeah, I'll show you quickly that, and then I'll quickly have. I just want to quickly talk one more thing after that. Promise I'll be quick.
Because lunch is here.
Okay. Alright. I know we're running a little bit late, but we came all the way from the MT to tell you the story. Don't want to waste your money, but eating's cheating. Yeah, so anyway, so this is an ad that I did for the Northern Territory Government. So, funnily enough, the NT government, when it was Labor, loved Foxy. Like, I did the portrait of a senior Territorian 3 years in a row. I just do it like I did the event. And also, yeah, I believe very much, and I still believe that in the Northern Territory becoming a state. So, yeah, we don't have too much of an interference from the ACT. Mustn't be starting, but yeah, quickly just to let you know, as you know, like the Sister Girl stuff and Brother Boy stuff is very much a part of Aboriginal culture and our gender and sexuality and identification and culture. And so what we're doing is we've actually started a group up in the NT called Sisters and Brothers NT, and just our loose mission statement as well is our aim is to communicate and educate about acceptance and tolerance of our community. We believe that by coming together, Indigenous and non-Indigenous GLBTISB people, we can create sexual change. Oh, that's right. Oh, that must be cute. We can create a social change and address the issue of racism. We are strong advocates for our community and support opportunities for our members to represent our community in consultation, resource creation, conferences, research and the media. We'd like to acknowledge that we have received some assistance by some beautiful people who are here today to get down here. That's not working. But you know my name now, you can go home and Google me on YouTube until the cows come home. And just lastly, like one thing I want to say, like we're totally like on the other side of things. Like up there, you know, in the Northern Territory, we have only had access to an endocrinologist probably in the past 2 years. So a lot of the sister girls have had to leave the NT, but when you start taking a sister away from her country, things start to get really difficult, and things do get very difficult for them. And yeah, so we're like on a different playing scale, I guess, like, you know, and that's why we're here, is to kind of like see all those beautiful, those great presentations, those talks about that sort of stuff. That's stuff that we don't get a lot of access to. And we're a little bit sick of telling the sister girl story. We're more about, okay, so how can we all network together and like kind of, you know, really get things happening for our sisters up there. And also we've only got one endocrinologist for the whole of Northern Territory. Look at the size of the NT. So, yeah, oh, it's working. might work, that's alright. And yeah, I'd also like to introduce my sister girl here, Reid.
Yes, my name is Reid, and I'm originally from Central Australia, and from a community called Whitmore. Central Desert, Aranda person, also Lurikia, Warlpiri, and Yawara. And I'm a sister girl from my community, but I'm living up in the Tiwi Islands, and I've been there for about maybe just about a year now. So I came out as, well, originally I always knew that I was sister girl, you know, from a young age, and finally got the courage to come out, you know. But I firstly came out as gay. And to me, I was like, you know, just to find it, you know, just to come out, I came out anyway, and then I, you know, realised, yeah, there's more to me than that, you know, because I've always been feminine, you know, so like, I was like, I'm actually a sister girl, and my ex made me realise that because he didn't like me dressing up in anything girly, and I'm like, oh, fuck that, I'm up to my yeah, so I was like, yeah, I'm actually a sister girl, so, yeah, so, I haven't started hormones, I'm thinking about it, but then all the medical stuff and everything like that, and also the costly part of it. Yeah, so like, exactly everything what Foxy covered, most of everything, you know, like, us having access, and even the younger generation, you know, like us having access to hormone treatment, and even the health, you know, like this being a health pathway for young people, you know, like back at home, back in the NT, in remote communities all around Australia, you know, we find it really hard to have access to these sort of things. Well, people in the cities and mainstream, they just can get it just like that. And, you know, like, I know you've heard it all before, but, you know, helping, like we've started up our organisation, Sisters and Brothers NT, and to have other people like, you know, like you guys, to get behind us and to support and to help us would be really good, you know. And just 2 weeks ago, like we just had a tragedy, you know, within our community. A 16-year-old transgender sister girl committed suicide, you know, because of lack of support, and she's really beautiful. You wouldn't even tell that she was born a boy. And yeah, I had the privilege of meeting her, you know. We usually have like annually with NTARC, the Northern Territory AIDS and Hepatitis Council, yearly have, every year we have like a retreat, you know, for sister girls, and not only we just open it up for gay men and also for lesbian, like trans men as well, you know, to come along and join with us. And you know, once a year is just not enough, you know, so there's got to be more support for that because the funding is sort of being cut from there. So that's why we decided to make up our own organisation where people who want to fund, you know, and contribute, so we can do it ourselves, you know, and coming to us firsthand, and us, Star Lady asking us to come down as representatives and speaking on behalf of us from our community to talk to you guys, you know, and everybody here. Yes, so I can go on and on, but anyway, it's lunchtime, so I better shut my mouth now. Hi.
The organisation is meant to help us in the Northern Territory, the Northern Territory AIDS and Hepatitis C Council. Just to let you have a bit of an idea, we approached them about getting some support to get here, and we were told by the AISGA worker, you sister girls need to stop expecting handouts. So we made it here on our own, and like again, I want to acknowledge the brothers and sisters who helped us get here.
Do you want to tell us what the website's going to be? Do you know it yet?
Yes, it's
www.brothersiandsistersnt.com.au. The page is under construction at the moment. So don't expect too much, but you can gaze at a beautiful picture of us there for hours and then you're only human, we've got an hour for lunch. Thank you. Thank you.
Can I just say that tomorrow afternoon is going to be a lot more time.